Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that affects all of us, the generations. What separates us, and maybe more importantly, what can actually bring us together? From baby boomers all the way to Gen Z, we've all got a story. So the real question is, how do we get those stories to connect? So let's just jump right in with this. This is a pretty powerful idea, right? It's a feeling that a lot of people have, this sense of frustration that can really fuel the divide between different age groups. But is that the whole picture? Well, let's dig in and find out. Okay, so first up, let's talk about the problem itself, the generation gap. I mean, we throw that term around all the time, but what does it really mean when it comes to our actual everyday lives? Well, here's the thing. At its core, it's all about having different points of view. And look, it's not just about your parents not liking your music. It's way deeper than that. It's about growing up in fundamentally different worlds. And that shapes everything. And that's where the frustration and that feeling of being disconnected can come from, even with the people you love. And this slide really puts it into perspective. Just look at this timeline. Every single one of these groups came of age in a completely different reality. You've got the silent generation that lived through the Great Depression and World War II, the boomers who saw this huge economic boom. And then you get to Gen Z, who've pretty much had a smartphone in their hands since they could walk. These aren't just names, they're like different cultural fingerprints, all shaped by history. So, where does this gap actually show up? Pretty much everywhere. It's in the tech we use, the way we date, the way we use social media. I mean, seriously, just try to explain a viral TikTok trend to a grandparent who grew up when there were only 3 channels on TV. You can see pretty quickly how it gets complicated. A lot of these differences, our opinions on tech, social issues, all of it, they don't just pop up out of nowhere. They're shaped by the big systems we grow up in. And one of the biggest? Education. So let's take a look at how the way we learn plays a huge part in all this. And this brings us to a huge question. Are we actually giving young people the tools they need to succeed out there? Or are we basically teaching them for a world that doesn't really exist anymore? This is a massive point of tension between the generations. And this slide really breaks down one of the main conflicts. You've got the traditional, theory-based way of learning on one side, focused on books and memorizing ideas. But on the other side, there's this huge push for practical, hands-on skills, the kind of stuff that actually helps you adapt and find a job in a world that's changing like crazy. And it's not just what we're taught, it's also about how we're tested on it. A written exam and an oral exam reward totally different skills, right? One is all about careful, quiet work. The other is about thinking on your feet and being a confident speaker. So, what you're seeing is that the very goals of education are changing. There's this massive push to make classrooms more inclusive, to talk about real world topics much earlier, and to actively tear down old gender stereotypes. It's a total rethink that's changing how the next generation sees themselves and their place in the world. Okay, so we've talked about these big, giant systems, but let's bring it back to us, to the personal level. What can we actually do? Turns out, We all have some personal superpowers we can use to start building bridges. And these are things we can use today. The first one, and this is a biggie, is the power of knowledge. And I'm not just talking about facts and figures. I'm talking about the power of understanding someone else's point of view. When you apply this to the generation gap, it's about understanding why. Why an older relative thinks job security is the most important thing in the world, or why a younger person values flexibility over everything else. It lets us question our own assumptions. And you know the best thing about knowledge? Once you have it, nobody can ever take it away. All right, next up, something we use every single minute of every day: the incredible power of our words. Think about it. The words you choose can either build a wall or open a door. Words can go both ways, can't they? Think about those labels we hear all the time: okay, boomer, lazy millennial. Even if they're just meant as a joke, they put up walls. But then a simple phrase like, hey, help me understand where you're coming from, can build a bridge just like that. Choosing our words carefully isn't just about being nice, it's a critical skill. And finally, we've got a force that is truly, truly powerful when it comes to connecting people. Now, it might sound a little bit cliche, but stick with me because its impact is huge. We're talking about the power of love. Now, what I mean by love here is really the engine for things like empathy and patience. When we're dealing with a generation gap, love is what lets you take a deep breath and look past the frustrating comment to see the actual person on the other side, not just their opinion. So, how do we put all this stuff into action? How do we use knowledge and words and love to really bridge this divide? Well, it comes down to a few really practical things we can do. Here we go. 4 simple but really powerful steps. First, open communication. And that means really listening, not just waiting for your turn to talk. 2, show some interest. Seriously, ask about their hobbies, their world. 3, respect boundaries. Everyone needs space. And 4, find something to do together. It doesn't have to be some grand gesture. It just has to be real. And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's a balancing act. You have to be honest about how you feel, but you have to do it with respect. And patience? Oh man, patience is everything. Because this kind of understanding, it doesn't happen in 5 minutes. So, we'll leave you with this final thought to take away. Whether it's a skill or a value or just a piece of wisdom, what's the one thing you will pass on? Because when it comes down to it, bridging the gap isn't just about figuring out the past, it's about building a better future together.